All right, I've had a very big week. This is like a 10K plus week. So I want to run through a bunch of the setups that I took, how my system works so well together from the swing trading all the way to over to the option selling side of things. So in this video, we're going to be going over the setups that I took, the trades that I actually took, how they are performing, and kind of my forward thinking. Before we get into this, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, go follow me on Instagram at CYRN. And if you guys have any questions, leave a comment, shoot me a DM, shoot me a message in Discord. I'm happy to answer any and all of them. But I'm back to be in the YouTube game. I was sick like all week. If I had to record something, I would have just been coughing the entire time. But without further ado, let's jump straight into this. So one of the biggest ones being Robinhood, actually. Robinhood had a massive 13% move on Friday the 21st. I'm recording this on Saturday, so this is still pretty fresh right now. Now, what I will say is I had a lot of conviction. I want to point out a couple things to you guys. So I actually bought Robinhood on the 26th of June. I bought 200 shares right here. Moving on, we actually were up big on Robinhood. We were up, I'll even measure it out for you guys, because roughly we would have been up about 27%. And what happened? We fell all the way back down. What did I end up doing again? In July, I actually bought more shares right at this level of support. And you can see this is also point of control. I've been using the fixed volume range profile as well in my new trading. I've actually really enjoyed having this here as an extra form of confirmation. It's more like a visual thing for me. This does not make or break a setup per se. This helps me adjust my strike and stuff. If you guys want, I can make a full video. I already have one, but more of an in-depth video of all my indicators and how I use them for all my trades and whatnot. But I loaded up on shares right at this 93, 94 level, and I love how having the volume range profile showing us that is point of control as well. But as you can see, we are still very far off all-time highs. So it is one of those things for me where Robinhood did crash all the way from around the 150s down to 63, which is absolutely insane to me because this is the leading, broker kind of for the United States. And as a Canadian, I'm really jealous that I don't get to use Robinhood, but I'm very happy that I let it find its kind of bottom here, let it kind of build some more support levels. And this is where I obviously got the most interested in the stock. And then when it came back down, I started to load up on more shares. Now, what I will say, we are up about $5,000 on this trade in particular, and there is hopefully no signs of slowing down. How did I enter this trade though? Obviously, my rules, 5 to 10% or 10 to 15%, sorry, off all-time highs. I always mix those up. 10 to 15% off all-time highs, which we very much were. And then I like to see about 5 to 10% off the most recent high, tapping into a key level of support. And we actually got about a 15% discount from this high all the way down here, and using the 200-day SMA as my confirmation. Obviously, with us trading below it, I need to have a lot more strength in the fundamentals. I need a higher conviction that tells me, yes, you can take this trade, even though the overall bullish trend is no longer intact. Now, again, you see these descending highs. Same setup, 10 to 15% off all-time highs. And again, back to this level, another 13% drop into that level of support where I chose to buy more. Now, we are pretty big right now, which is, very nice to see. Overall on the trade was about almost 17%. For me, I like choosing about 30% for kind of if I was taking a take profit. 30% is kind of like my sweet spot, my happy zone, about 25, 30 or at all-time high. So that is very far away. I will say, we measure this out. Let's see how far we are. We are still around 42% from all-time highs. Now, a big thing fundamentally that drove this is obviously the fact that crypto is starting to get a bigger bid now. So now that that is obviously, happening, Robinhood is seeing the fruits of it. You need to see the technical aspect of this. Regulators to update security laws to allow blockchain tokenized equities, and said talks with the SEC target innovation exemption for 24/7 trading. More trading means more money for them. So that is just something to keep in mind. I like this company fundamentally, where that fair price per share is obviously beyond me personally. You can see the technicals are showing us a very, strong buy. I never really trust this. I usually more so look at the analyst targets. And this is what I like to see here. Obviously, when this is showing us buy, specifically with the average being at about 124, which is a 15% gain from where we are, that puts me right at my 30% gain on the stock. And then I can choose what I want to see if I want to get back to all-time highs. And obviously, you can see the max, strong buy targets up here being about 51% higher. So that is definitely something I'm aware of, but not something I am, crossing my fingers on. But I like to see, when a lot is pointing up and there is not a strong disagreement. You can see that there's, only 2 strong sell, 5 hold, 4 buy, and 19 strong buy. So obviously I'm not taking this to heart and I'm saying yes 100%. Like if it says buy, I should buy. This is just, analyst targets are obviously set by institutions and banks. So for me, whether they might be capping a little bit, I don't know, but I personally like to, use analyst targets to my advantage just to kind of gauge where, we are, where we could be going. But overall, solid trade. Very confident in this level, I will say. Loading up 200 shares here and another 200 here for a total of 400 shares at 93. So I'm very happy to see this finally getting the love that I think Robinhood deserved. But I will say, finally breaking back above the 200-day SMA. So I would like to see us continue this bullish momentum, obviously, to create some higher highs and eventually get back to those all-time highs. But overall, this position is looking really good. I'm very happy with it. This was actually the smaller position this week, I will say. This is about $5,000. We're going to go to SoFi next, where I have a swing trade on, and also how I'm selling options on it, because that is where my system really shines. So heading over to SOFI. All right, so the second swing trade I have is on SoFi. My cost basis for one of the positions is around 15.7. Actually, just let me change this to shares, not cash secured put, my bad. But this is where I'm running kind of both strategies here, and you'll see how this can get a little bit complicated, but it's actually very, very simple, and why I treat my portfolio separately. So if you guys don't know this already, my swing trading portfolio is separate from my option selling portfolio. Those are 2 different accounts entirely, both with Interactive Brokers, but I like keeping them separate because then I'm not, dipping a bunch into CSPs. I'm not dipping a bunch into, buying shares. I never want to get, I never use margin, actually. So that is a big one for me, but it's just easier when I'm utilizing the entire portfolio on the cash secured put side. And then I have a bunch of free capital in a different account that I can just switch to actually trade the shares. So in particular, SoFi, again, following my setup, 10 to 15% off all-time highs. Very much so. Finally, we found a base down here around the $14 level, just around 15. And now we have finally found, I would like to say, our bottom. Fundamentally, they had an amazing earnings. I was very, very happy with this. So I've been holding shares for a while from about 15.7. I think I have some higher at around 16 something. But how did this actually work? Because I've been selling cash secured puts on this, and I'm honestly holding a bunch of shares in them. Like with SoFi, such a cheap stock. I think I own 2,400 shares of the stock. So with the shares being so low here, obviously this is where I have the biggest advantage, but my options account did not own any shares. I've been honestly trying to get assigned on SoFi forever, for probably the past 3 months on my options account. I've really wanted to be assigned. And again, I have to say, this is one of those things where you guys have to have that mindset of you want to be assigned shares. If you're not running the strategy, you genuinely want to be assigned shares, you will not succeed in this, because you cannot be scared of assignment with this kind of strategy. But so this week in particular, I was selling at about 17.5, looking to get assigned. We came to 17.6 and then flew right off of it. Now, I will say, for the share price that I have this at, this is really awesome. Just under point of control as well. Obviously, everything fits my system. We're well below the 200-day SMA, so the fundamentals really needed to make sense for me. Obviously, they did. They had a great earnings release too. Massive dump and then rocket right off of there. So that was really awesome to see. And then we caught a bid on Friday about up 5%, which is really cool. Really interestingly, I was watching this from the perspective of my options account, and then all of a sudden I see us dumping, flying, dumping, flying. I'm like, can we just make a decision? Please, I would love to be assigned. Obviously I didn't, but I'm still collecting amazing premiums running SoFi cash secured puts. The IV is very high, so obviously the premiums are paying very well, and I can kind of stretch those to really help my portfolio out on a weekly basis when genuinely it is a stock that I want to own on the option selling side of things. Now on the share gains, we are up about $7,500, which is really cool. I will say we're starting to respect these levels of support now, and I would like to see a breakout of this resistance level about 19.7. and then start making our way back all the way to the 30s. But, that is very far away for us as it stands right now. I can check from about current price where we're trading at, 18.97. Yeah, we're about 73% off all-time high. So definitely a long way to go. And this is one of those things where, a 76% move is absolutely insane. So it is one of those things where I'm sitting back and I'm looking, do I want, where do I want to cash out on this, right? So, because you guys have seen it on a bunch of my other trades, we'll have like a massive impulse like this. We have to retrace that, put in some good market structure, and then continue. So in a case like this where, SoFi has just been genuinely ranging since March, it's insane. So, we're waiting for this range to break out. I want to hope that this is going to be where it is. We also have a good bullish catalyst from the earnings to show us that, hey, this could be our sign to fly through there. I actually didn't sell a cash grid put this week when we had their earnings, just because I don't like ever playing earnings releases. And you can see like here, even though we did rebound from the earnings release that we had last time, from like top candle to bottom was about 17%. I'm really not just trying to get caught in those kinds of moves. That's like why I don't really sell options during earnings, but overall still generating a bunch of premiums over here on the option selling portfolio, and we are crushing it with the swing trading portfolio. I love where my cost basis is, specifically on the swing trading portfolio, and I'm very excited to see what we can do, moving into the future. Now, I will say I was very, very diversified this week, specifically with my cash secured puts. That's going to be all for the swing trades, by the way. We had those 2 swing trades go bang. I added some more swing trades on Bloom Energy, on CoreWeave as well, and Rocket Lab. I can save those for a different video for like an in-depth look if you guys want those, but more so I'm just going to be recapping a bunch of the positions that I took recently that are in profit, I should say. But PCG is a really cool example because I sold a bunch of contracts on this at the start of the week, obviously expiring at the end of the week. Now, I want you guys to pay attention where PCG actually opened at the start of the week. This is around the open price. You can see we just crashed immediately down on that first day. So what happened here? I sold my cash grid put at the $17 strike, which means from this point all the way down roughly is about 5%, 5.5%. That fits my plan. I'm happy. What did PCG do? I want you guys to be very aware of this. This one candle is here. We ended the week right here. So where we opened, where we ended is very close in price. Like if I actually check, this is going to be around 1%. So if you bought PCG shares on Monday, you'd be back at break even, maybe minus 1% at the end of the week. And this is what is really, really cool. I just made a reel on this in particular because even though if you actually took a trade on this, you'd be break even. Let me just turn my brightness up. You guys would be break even on this. I still made money on this just because of the fact that I'm selling options. This stock can go up, it can go down, it can go sideways, it can go in a circle for all I care. As long as it's staying above my strike price, I'm still making money. Even if it comes below, I'm still using the shares to make money. And this is why I love my strategy so much. And that's why I'm trying to drill this into your guys' heads. Because even when a stock does this, it has a massive rally. So obviously on Monday, we flew down. Then after Monday's dump, we rallied over 5%. And then, of course, obviously my option, when we get to this point, my option is decaying so much that like 3 days in, I was probably able to close this trade because by the time, when was this? This was Thursday. By the time Thursday hit, we crashed again, down 5%. So it is one of those things where this stock is literally doing whatever it wants, up, down, sideways, going insane. Didn't even come close to my strike price. There was still so much room. It came break even to where we were in the week. I want to see if it actually reflects on here. In 1 week, 0.98%. Didn't even move a full percent. And this is exactly what I'm trying to show you guys. Like in a case like this stock can do whatever it wants as long as it's not touching my strike price or anything. We're good. I had it in between these 2 levels of support. Didn't even come close to it. Touch point of control, kind of did its thing. So overall, great trade. And the last one I want to go through is going to be on Celsius. This was a really funny one because I always say I don't have a crystal ball. And this is exactly the case of it. In a week's time, Celsius moved 15%. And this is Monday open right here. You can see on Monday, we literally dropped to my strike price, bounced off my support level, and proceeded to rally 15%. I could not have predicted this. There was no real catalyst behind this. Celsius Holdings to participate in Barclays' 19th annual Global Consumer Conference. Not exactly, what you're looking for. And I actually held off on selling puts on this company after I didn't want to touch their earnings because they just got banned in like the UK or something. And I was not loving that. So I stayed away from them when they were having their earnings. Obviously, they dumped like insanely. And look at the rally that they've had after the fact. So again, it is one of those things where I was comfortable, selling a put at this level. And this is why I always say, choose your level so carefully, just because of the fact that look how carefully I chose this level. 5 to 10% off the most recent high, tapping into a level of support. And obviously you need to be, there's the 200-day SMA. We're very far off of it. So it is one of those things where you guys have to take into account the fundamentals very, very heavily. While I show you guys most of the technicals here, you have to know the underlying asset. All the underlying assets that I'm playing, I know like the back of my hand, and I probably have like 10-page documents on all of them. If that thesis changes, I am all over it. But again, really cool, because by the time Wednesday hit, I actually made a video on this. Wednesday came around and this put was already 96%, finished. Like I could literally have closed out the trade with 2 days left to expiry. So definitely an amazing trade. One of those things where, again, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know which way the market is going to go. And this is exactly why I sell options, because genuinely the market can do whatever it wants. And I am none the wiser. I just kind of sit back, let it do its thing. One thing that I will say is, I get this question a lot. Why don't, if I'm selling cash script puts below, why don't I do a call spread where I can sell a cash script put, buy a call, and if it goes up, I make money? That's great in a case like Celsius, where, Celsius has rallied 15%. I would have gotten that upside. But then if we go back to something like PCG, that is down here. There it is, my bad. If we go down back to something like PCG that literally came back to where it started at the start of the week, you're not making anything on that. Like your options just decayed from time, that hasn't really moved. So that's why I don't do it. I just like my simple strategy that's obviously, crushing it. Currently on the month, I'm up 3.4% with 1 whole week left in August to crush my 4% monthly goal. So definitely stay tuned for that. I'm obviously very active in the Discord, very active on socials as well, just so you guys can, have good updates and see everything that I'm talking about. So overall, definitely one of those things where you guys should definitely be tapped in on the socials so you can pay more attention and see how the trades are executing day in, day out. But overall, that's going to be the recap. Absolutely crushed the week with swing trades. They're finally popping off, seeing 2 of them go. Bloom Energy, not loving, my entry on that. Rocket Lab, RKLB. Again, one of those things where tap my support, kind of slice through it here. We're going to just let those do its thing. Core Weave was the last one. It's going to be all the way up here. Core Weave tapped my support level. We're still dancing right at it. So we'll see how these go. I'll keep you guys updated. But if you found value in this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.